I was like, okay, I've been in this locker room and I'm seeing these girls get dressed and they're wearing like their underwear isn't all covering their booties.
It's like a wedgie.
It's like their underwear is going up their booty.
You're like, what is that?
What is that? So I remember
why do they all have
figuring
that?
this out of like, what is this? I learned it was called a thong.
Nice.
And I decided that
Did you ask your mom? You wanted some, right?
I wanted some.
You want
because the girls
thongs.
on the basketball team
Why not?
had them.
Right.
And of course my mom said no. But I then took all of my panties and cut them up. And I made homemade
you did that. Oh, wow. I love a good crack.
I think you should keep that in there. Mm-hmm. All right, we are back.
I don't normally drink Alani. It's pretty good.
The Alani. This is part 2.
Nice. Part 2.
How growing up shaped who we are today.
Yes.
And we're gonna jump right in. We're just gonna go there.
It's like a continuation.
We were talking about our childhoods. And really, I would say like elementary, like birth to elementary to middle school years within that. And how
that has shaped us
today.
So
I think a lot of people, when they meet us, they're like, wow, they're real. Like, obviously, we're very committed to fitness. We're very committed to business. We're very disciplined. We are just those type of people. But
not all those things were present. Sometimes the vast opposite was present, and that's why for me, like where certain things I didn't have, like Jenna as an only child, your story, if our viewers haven't listened to that episode, you need to go back and listen to that. First. You'll have a lot of context to some of the answers.
I'd say 30-second recap though, only child, divorced family who actually physically does divorces though, so the extra layer of that. Mom was gone in the mornings. Mom was gone in the evenings, came home late. She worked nonstop. She would say that to this day, worked way too much. I did a lot of things solo. I really did. I did a lot of things solo starting at a really young age. And it really taught me how to be resourceful, how to adapt, how to... You
were a hustler. You used to tell me you would go to school.
I would take stuff from our house
Hang
and
on,
sell
cell
it at
phones.
school.
Cell phones
yeah, I'd
came
sell my
out.
Cell phones.
Flip phones, like razors.
Pop out the SIM card.
Just give me a quick list of 5 phones you probably had growing up.
All of them.
I'm like, the Nokia, the Razor.
Not because like I bought it, but because like I ended up getting a phone and then I would trade up.
And she knew the SIM card. Yeah. She knew all of it. Like that was hilarious. Yeah. I was bringing Game Boys to school, playing, like hooking up Pokemon, like playing with my friends.
That was just growing up in our era though. Like I grew up
no
with
streaming,
the Sims,
no internet,
Roller Coaster Tycoon,
computer games.
I had AOL, so like America Online.
Internet came out.
Internet had just come out where it's like
Napster.
You gotta wait, and you can't get on the phone.
Me and my brother wrecked my parents' computer with LimeWire viruses and
Burn
all
a
sorts
CD.
of. Oh my gosh, take me back!
It's a good time. It was a good time. And
that's the glitz and glamour of the 90s.
The glitz and glamour for sure. But also just being able to go outside and like hop on your bike and
seemed
a
little safer.
And not come back for hours. And, when the street light's on, you come home type thing.
Our parents didn't know where we were.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have a clue where we were, what was going on. And I don't say that mom and dad, great job. Yeah. Like, you raised a good kid. But normal. Like,
that was just
I look at it now as a parent and I'm like, goodness. Like, Charlie goes to the end of the driveway and I'm like sitting out there staring, where are you? Like, do you have a tracker on? Like, do you have like anything? Like, I just, and that's tough. And it's tough.
Just
and it's fear. It's a spirit of fear that's like here now that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And, I try really hard. I don't want our girls to grow up scared.
I had an experience with that when I was a kid. This is kind of a dark turn to be serious, but I was almost kidnapped as a kid. It was really scary in Tulsa. So maybe that's where my anxiety started. I really was almost kidnapped.
Jenna has when we travel.
Yeah.
When we stop at the gas station.
Oh, it's game over.
She's a wreck. And I'm like, all I gotta do, I'm trying to get energy drink or something. I'm trying to go to the bathroom. I've got to fill up the truck. I've got to let the dogs out. And Jenna, meanwhile, is like, won't even get out of the truck until she has an escort in and out
to the bathroom door.
Too much
of the truck stop.
Why? Where? What is that anxiety about? Human trafficking?
Really
you think you're gonna get like?
I really don't know, but I genuinely do have like issues with that. When we travel,
it's affected
especially
me.
Having kids now.
Well, no, it's affected me whether I want to say it has or hasn't, because I'm way more conscious of the fact that it's affecting you when we're all in the car together. Man, you lock me out of the truck the minute I get out, and I'm like,
he goes to pump gas. I'm like
there's like a serial killer chasing me. I'm like, let me back in. I'm locked out of my own truck.
Yeah, it does take us like 20 extra minutes at a stop because I require an escort and all of that.
But you almost got kidnapped as a kid.
As a kid,
so that
we were in Tulsa.
Scary.
We were actually off Archer. I was 4 and I was running down the sidewalk of the school that's off Archer. And my mom was probably 100 yards back, but I ran ahead. It was a Sunday, I remember, and a truck pulled up, and the guy got out and told me to come here. And when you were growing up in the 90s, that's one thing about the 90s you damn for sure knew was stranger danger.
Stranger danger.
You knew, like, that was just something that we
Unless
were
it was
really
the ice
taught.
cream man, because those guys were sketchy as well, but we all rolled up. Jenna had, you got to be quick.
Side note.
Jenna had a tab.
Right now. We got to finish this story. I'm talking about almost getting kidnapped.
Oh my gosh.
And
okay,
the
sorry.
man told me to come here, and I
But
shook my head no, and I ran, and we had to go
didn't.
file a police report. It was really scary. Like, I just think back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jesus.
That is
thank you
not-
that I did not come here.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that really did kind of carry into my anxiety into adulthood, but
Gonna be okay.
Just kind of funny, but you know, you mellow me out. I've gotten a lot better with my anxiety.
I'm like, I'm not confrontational, but I'm like, you trying to come at me?
Yeah.
Let's go. Like, I like a challenge.
Yeah.
So,
I tend to panic. So
you panic, and I'm like, just
all
play
good.
it cool. Like, if you play it cool in most scenarios, you're
Yeah.
gonna skate through. Panicking is actually what gets you noticed, and
Yeah.
you don't make it through.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know.
anyways,
Jenna's the type. Jenna's the person that would tell on herself.
I would.
Right?
I would turn myself in. I would for sure. I'm not gonna.
I feel like I remember a story at a high school party. You were like,
No,
you don't
Matt.
smoke, but you were like smoking or something.
No.
You threw a cigarette down, like the forest caught on fire, and Jenna thought it was like her, and she like told on herself. That's a false story, right?
You're ridiculous.
All right. What about the time? Okay, tell the time.
What?
Okay.
We're talking about growing up.
Yes,
middle school?
let's recap. Talking about growing up. I can't wait for this story.
What?
Like, when I grew up, Abercrombie and Fitch clothing was like, that was in Abercrombie. Even at one point, Jinkos. Do you remember those jeans with the pockets that were about 4.5 feet deep? It was the whole jean. Like, it was, anyway, you know, we grew up, there were certain trends, but Jenna grew up. There's a funny story that all the girls were at school. And how old were you? Middle school?
I was in the 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade.
Come on, this will make a great story.
Athletics were a part of our school day. So I played basketball, and basketball was always 3rd and 4th hour. And so, which is really strange because we would go to 1st and 2nd hour and then have to literally practice basketball and get so sweaty and then go to lunch. It was like the craziest thing.
We had similar. I mean, we had like weights class and stuff in the middle of the day, and you're like, you smell terrible all the way to.
So, you know, you had a shower, you had to get in the locker room with the girls and all the things. And, you know, growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was such a pressure to, and there still is today, but it's a different kind of pressure with social media and Snapchat and Instagram and, you know, TikTok. Look at me, Instagram. There's probably no one on Gen Z that's like, or even younger, worrying about Instagram. But TikTok, Snapchat.
They don't, hang on, hold on, time out.
I don't think Instagram's on the top of their list.
They don't use Instagram?
I think that's a like millennial thing.
Where do they post their photos?
Like TikTok, Snapchat.
TikTok's a video platform.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't even have it.
Garrison?
I don't even have TikTok. I don't know. Anyways,
you said we use Instagram. There we go. See?
Well, anyways, we didn't have that, and this is how
MySpace.
This is how we didn't have a MySpace, but this is how we desperately tried to fit in. So I remember going home, and I was like, okay, I've been in this locker room, and I'm seeing these girls get dressed, and they're wearing like their underwear isn't all covering their booties.
It's like a wedgie.
It's like their underwear is going up their booty.
You're like, what is that?
What is that? So I remember
why do they all have
figuring this out of like, what is this? And I'm doing this. I'm like, did I go on AOL and figure that out? I don't know.
Dial up.
But I didn't know what that. I think I was in the 7th grade. And I learned it was called a thong.
Nice.
And I decided
Did you ask your mom? You wanted some, right?
I wanted some.
You want
because the girls on the basketball team
Why not?
had them.
Right.
And of course, my mom said no. And probably because we couldn't afford it. But I then took all of my panties and cut them up. And I made homemade.
You did that. You made homemade ones.
I made them myself.
And then, wait till you see the look on the girls' faces next week when you showed up. No, I'm just teasing.
No, it was
the
terrifying,
funnious part about that.
The funniest part is I cut them and I cut my comforter with
That's it.
Like
That's
that
it.
sucks.
You cut through.
I cut through. There was just
there was
so
like
many.
cotton all over, and your mom was like,
"That is so
probably
something
so
I would
pissed."
do.
And like, number
Just
one, you cut up.
totally-
Now you need new underwear.
I need new
You're
underwear.
definitely not getting
I
thongs.
cut up
You need a
my
new
own
comforter.
panties.
Definitely
I need a
not.
new It's just the whole thing. Anyways, that is such a great picture of a true millennial girl who just wants to fit in. Go home, and that's called resourceful. You get a no, so you just go do it yourself. You go make it yourself. That's
wanted
what
to.
we did.
Didn't you like want to paint your room? Your mom said no, so you just like went to the store, went and bought
got
paint,
my own paint,
roller.
came home,
Your mom
painted my room in the middle of the night.
It had like
Woke up the next morning-
teen pop like
nails.
pictures like
With nails.
plastered like glue onto the wall.
No glue.
No
Nails.
glue. Nails.
Nails.
Nail.
Like hammer and nails
wow.
with J14 pop posters.
J14s.
And,
Nice.
Like there were probably 1,000 nail holes on my wall, and my walls were pink and purple.
Oh my God.
That I did.
Nice.
So, when we talk about always like being resourceful, and you know this in our marriage, when I ask something like, "Hey, can we do this?" or "Hey, could you do this? Could we do this?" How long do you have before it's done?
Oh my gosh.
Like-
If you're sitting there fielding Jenna's question, you've already waited too long. It should have been done by now. Like Jenna, if she has thought it and she's having a conversation with you about it, you might as well start fast tracking in your mind, what's the quickest way I can get that done? Because like, that's why we're talking about it. It's not
Otherwise, I'm going to start doing it right now.
I'm going to put that in the overhead compartment. I'm going to store that for later.
Yeah.
It might shift around. I
Yeah,
might deal
you'll
with it
probably
later. Might forget, might not.
Probably.
If it's very important, I won't, but,
Yeah.
no one's perfect.
It's just
okay?
funny. It's just funny because that
You
was
want it
so,
done immediately.
Yeah, but I think that was just that
Poof.
I'm just used to doing it. If I want it, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna find a way. It might be a terrible 1 out of 10 way, but I'm gonna go figure out a way.
So when we first got married, Jenna hung like a bunch of our artwork up in the house.
Yeah.
And I think that was the year we had an earthquake in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
And all of our artwork
thumbtacks.
was shattered to the ground. And I look and I'm like, man, I haven't really lived through that many earthquakes.
Yeah.
So like it was weird, sounded like a train, everything shook.
Yeah.
But I looked, it was because Jenna had like
Thumbtacks.
1/2-inch pink thumbtacks
they were hot pink.
that were for like a cork board for her office. And all the like art around the house was hung just by one of those. And I was like, well, that's probably why.
That checks out.
But you were resourceful. You were like, I wasn't home, and you were like, hey babe, I decorated. I remember I came home from work and you were like, you had painted or something and put up art.
Literally no telling. You know what's crazy?
In one day, you get a moment and it's already like, all right, how quick can I get to Lowe's, get the supplies and get it done so that it's not a thought, it actually is reality. But that's our life.
Yeah, that's our
That's
life.
how Vass was born.
Now
That's how
the
everything.
craziest part is that being adults in our mid-30s is that we do that with business, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the scary part. Is like, if I have an idea or a thought, done.
I can tell if
Let's
it
do
gets you excited enough, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just talking about ideas. Other times it's like, if it's too easy and the step, like there's 8 steps to success and 6 of them are already done in your mind, you're like, we just got to do them.
Yeah.
And then like,
You know what's
figure it out.
crazy is that I see that now in Charlie. She is such a resourceful.
She's a problem solver.
Like how? Hey, I was thinking this. She even uses that phrasing. Hey,
I was thinking.
Hey, mom, dad, I was thinking. What if we
5-year-old.
did this?
I was
I
thinking.
have a plan. So we'll do this first, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do this. Sound good?
And Daddy, if it's not clean, you're probably going to need to make sure it's clean before. And I'm like, excuse me? Yeah. Like, you are not my boss. But she is understanding, like, 1, 2, 3, 4. These need to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Quicker they happen, the more time I get.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah. What about Goldie?
Goldie, our youngest, she's still the sweetest girl ever, but we call her sweet and sour. Yeah. And she can be the sweetest girl in one moment and sour and the next, and she knows it. Yeah. She knows it. Yeah. So much so that I think some of it's fake. But you know what? I relate so much to Goldie because I was the second born. Mm-hmm. She's like 2 years younger than Charlie. Yeah. Like I was 2.5 or whatever. I was around the same with my brother. So the dynamics of the second born,
you feel Goldie on
you're
that.
A little bit of a punk. Yeah. Like, and that was kind of, my brother was very type A personality, very responsible. I was more like, I learned what to do and what not to do based on like what he was doing. Yeah. And then put my own little flair on it, I guess, if you will. But talking about like how things shaped. Okay. So like if you listen to our other episode, you hear the stark contrast between your upbringing when we're talking about being very young, formidable years, young, elementary school, middle school, into high school. And then like, there's those shift, the latter years of high school into college, into early adulthood. I think you and I's stories kind of took a flip-flop. Like, whereas there was a stark contrast, and I don't mean flip-flop in any other reason, like our situations were totally different. Mm-hmm. But when I, growing up, had everything that I needed, maybe I didn't always feel the burn of what it would mean if I lost it or messed it up or got in trouble. Yeah. So though I would call myself an entitled kid, I was a punk in the 90s. I probably would have been at Woodstock 99 if I could have figured out a way to get there. But like it just, I was kind of like, I had anger issues back then too. Like, you know, there were, when you were, I mean, like that's literally what they talk about in that Woodstock 99 documentary, but like the culture of the males at that time in life that were listening to that kind of music and doing things like it was an influence because we played sports, and if you got ticked off, go play football and hit someone really hard. It was just kind of a healthy outlet. But growing up, like I started to get into trouble, like never really trouble with the police or anything, just with my parents in the beginning. You know, my testimony is we grew up in a Christian household, but we grew up Catholic. And what that means is I understood the stories about Jesus, and I understood when I was supposed to go to church and not go to church. But past that, I really didn't have a grasp or an understanding or a relationship or really anything. It didn't change how I live my life. Yeah. So my parents took my brother and I to church till we were in 8th grade. And once I was 14, sports were kind of more glorified in our home at the time. I was always going to camps. My brother was playing travel basketball, even in the summers. So like we were busy. So it wasn't a priority to be in church. So we were never really in church from like 14 on. And that's when like, I just, you know, I was playing sports, hanging out with friends. And, you know, I started smoking weed when I was 14, started drinking, you know, socially beer. I didn't even think it tasted good back then, but it was like, you know, after football games or whatever, you know, going out to friends' houses and stuff like that. I managed to stay out of trouble for the most part until I moved out of the house. But I had gotten in trouble with my parents time and time again to the point where it was no cover up. I mean, it was starting to become like harder drugs. It was starting to become, I mean, I remember it was like 3 weeks before I was moving out. I had earned a scholarship to go play football at Ferris State University. And I say this because it was like barely a scholarship. Like I still took out like so much student loans. It was just the only school that was like, we're going to give you money to go play. And I was just stoked that anybody would like give me money to go play football. So I went, and like, I'll never forget, like it was a couple weeks before I left. I had been out summer before you leave. You got senioritis. I've already got figured out where I'm going to college. Like, I'm not even really working. I'm just going to the beach, like the lake every day, because like you're getting ready to move out of mom and dad's house. And my dad was drug testing me. He just didn't trust me. I told him I was staying clean off a bunch of different things. And I'll never forget, he drug tested me and I failed for like cocaine, like a bunch of stuff that my dad was like, this is way more than I thought it ever was. Like, you need help. Like, you need to go get your life right. Yeah. And I was like, I'm out of here. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. Like, I'm finally on my way out. See ya. So when I went to college, I left home with probably the most rebellious attitude, spirit, whatever, chip on my shoulder than I ever had. You say, why? Because I had gotten in trouble with my parents for smoking when I was 14. Right. So from 14 to graduation, that's 4 years for you folks. From freshman year to senior year, I couldn't like spend the night at people's house. I was basically like grounded. Yeah. Like, before I even got my license, I was like grounded. So the minute I was a senior, I was out. Like, I was so out, and it wasn't anything like, would you do or not do to my parents? No, it was just like, I wanted to go be free, rebellious, go live my life, right? I earned this. It was all pride. It was all about me. And when I got to college, I realized you're not at the top of the totem pole anymore. It doesn't matter if you were first team all-state this, you're nothing. You're an underclassman. You're scum, right? Like, it's such a joke, but like, college athletics is kind of like the military. They break you down a little bit. You realize you're nothing until you are something. And it's healthy, but like, you have to internalize that the right way. And I did not. Yeah. I was an 18-year-old prideful kid, not living at mom and dad's house anymore, on my own, having to pay my own bills. If I decide to go do dumb things or stay out and drink and have practice the next day, I'm going to be hungover and I'm going to have to figure out what that looks like. And coach is going to know, and all the things, like just being an adult, right? Yeah. You're like, sounds like you were a rich, like entitled kid, right? No, I just like had never even experienced what a lot of kids do in high school. I didn't even really get to experience that till I went really into the deep end in college.
So I know, like, that was your first time to experience freedom. That you think is freedom. You think is freedom.
Yeah. Just no one telling you what to do.
No one telling you what to do. Okay. All right. And you thought you knew everything.
Oh, I was such a punk. I was getting like hazed by like upperclassmen, and I was the only freshman that wouldn't shut up. Yeah. That would like go back and like push them and like start a fight with like a 23-year-old fifth year senior that's like jacked.
Matt is an Enneagram 8. He's your poster Enneagram 8, if you know what that means. Oh, yeah. Sure. He is the most Enneagram 8 person you will ever meet. I am an Enneagram 6. And so
we are contrasting.
We are very different within that. But he's very, he's not going to back down. He's definitely not going to back down. He's going to say what he thinks. He's going to say what needs to be said that everyone's scared to say. Matt will say it probably.
I'm trying to get better at that. Okay. Though, because as an adult, I'm realizing how confrontational that is.
It's pretty confrontational.
And why the whole...
It can be a gift though, too. It really can.
It's really just me like getting frustrated that like something's not conforming to the way that something needs to, and it's me trying to just grab onto it really hard and just
and a lot of people see that as, whoa, he's intense.
Super intense.
He's yelling at me. He's intense, when it's just very normal for him. So anyways, I think what this whole next journey that he's about to unpack, it will be this next episode, and you don't want to miss it. When it comes to the growing up and through the young adulthood, we both have similar stories in that we both went to college. I can wrap up my college in 30 seconds or less. Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
Went to Oklahoma State University, one of the greatest universities on the planet. Had a great experience. I actually lived with a family in college, and that I think that was a big part of my story too, that we can talk up and unpack in episode 3. One. I went and I graduated from Oklahoma State. You did.
I never graduated. So, I got arrested out of college my junior year, and
we will leave you on that note. Matt got arrested. We'll see you next
It
time.
was a dark, dark time. We'll see you in the next episode.